Alright, this is part 21, a long overdue 21, part 21 of the truck project. Plenty's been happening, not a lot of videoing. Anyway, I'll get through with this. That's the big crossflow radio I'm going to use, and that's out of an F150. So I like the crossflow idea of it. So holds plenty of water, should keep it cool. Engine mounts. Okay, so I've decided to go with engine plates on this thing, front and back. I haven't done the back sections yet, but I've just formed out the front plate at the moment, and just sort of working out what sits where and driveline angles and all this sort of stuff. But this is in its earliest raw form, but yeah, I'm going to run with an engine plate, and the engine plate will be bolted up to the block between the block and the timing case. The timing case is going to get milled by about 6 mil, that's what the plate is. It's steel, because this is a Povo deal, and I don't have the money for alloy. I'll just go with steel. I can do everything at home then, it's easy. So yeah, mill the front timing cover, 6 mil engine plate, and as for it will be rubber mounted, front and rear. I've just got to, these are, well, believe it or not, these rubbers are actually for they're 55, 56 chev engine mounts, I believe. So anyway, really cheap on eBay. Anyway, but I'm going to utilise those. Basically, this is going to sit on top of the frame. The bolt will go down through that bit of bar once it's machined, and I'll cut it. Like I said, this is early days. I need to cut and weld and do some other things, but they will be rubber mounted front and rear. Yeah, so yeah, that's engine mounts, and once the engine mounts are done, I mean, obviously there needs a sump in there, but down the sides of the engines gives you a huge amount of clearance to go totally 8 with the headers. And yeah, the headers for this thing I want to be pretty spectacular, and yeah, I've got plenty of room to muck around with all that. So yeah, I'll have a yeah, like I said, a rear mount off the bell housing to the frame as well, rubber mounted, so so it'll sort of tie it all together. The engine and the frame will be all tied together, so probably make it a little stronger, and yeah, should make it interesting. Also too, I have intentions of, I've put a plate on the firewall here under the hydroboost, but basically what's going to happen is I'm going to run some bars forward and then down to the front of the frame to tie it up a bit more, and probably use a bit of sheet metal in the engine bay as well, so just to give it that look, that pro touring style of look. And also too, I've gone with the hydroboost, mounted that. That's off a Ford, that one, I think. I can't remember, Ford Mach 1 GT or something like that, around about 2000, 2001 or 2. So yeah, I'm going to run with the hydroboost. I think that's about 1 inch and 1/8 cylinder on it, so that should work with the Brembos. It's already, actually, lucky me, it already comes fitted with a line lock, so I'll be retaining the line lock for those occasions when I need a line lock. And but yeah, so basically, yeah, engines mounted, sort of. I really did that for the angles. The hydroboost is in, so yeah, and I'm just sort of checking out the steering angles and bits and pieces with the rack. The column I'm not so sure about yet, but yeah, it's all a work in progress. It's a nice SVO pump there off a NASCAR. They pump really well, so should keep this thing cool. And that's my chopped up. That's my chopped up manifold. Like I said, I'll be running independent throttle bodies on this thing, and I'm just experimenting with a cast manifold to adapt or change, but I'll see what happens. I may end up making my own, I'm not sure yet, so we'll see how that works out. I've made this jig up anyway, so just in case I feel like making my own, that may well happen. Yeah, make my own manifold, probably look a little bit better, run a bit better. So yeah, that's a spare engine plate. I thought, if you can cut one, you can cut two, so I've just mocked that up just in case. And yeah, that's a what's that? That's a Series 3 rack to go into the truck before I finalise the steering column stuff, because this thing's got the Series 1 rack in it, which is a different length to a different height at the tower here than the 3, so I'll be putting that rack in before I finalise my steering column shafts and lengths and all that sort of stuff. I've been a little bit creative too. I'll just show you the pedals first. So I had to do a little bit of surgery to the to the pedal box. I just extended this down some, just to give it a nice, so it marries up well with the back of the hydroboost, and utilising all the bolts off the original hydroboost. I've done the same on the other side, just lowered that so that the hydroboost is bolted directly to the pedal box and not just the firewall. These things do generate a lot of brake force, and you probably need a little bit more than just a pressed steel panel to work with it. So yeah, that's the pedal box done. Yeah, just fabricating a clutch pedal. That's sort of a bit of a Falcon pedal. That's happening, work in progress, and it's where the column's possibly going to come through the floor, but we'll wait and see. But yeah, what I've really been mucking around engineering is this crazy idea about putting a forward shift on the T56. So anyway, as you can see, the original shifter is back here because the engine is set back a long way. It's probably set back as far as I can get it now. Yeah, the cylinder heads are real close to the firewall. Anyway, so T56 is a fairly long gearbox, so pushing it all back puts the original shifter back here. So as you can see, I mean, that would probably be virtually under the bench seat. So I thought, just for the sake of originality, I'll try and build a shifter that will put the gear stick back out of the floor through the original hole that was for this model truck, and that's what I've done. So that first hole is the original hole for the shifter, and those other things are various driveline gearboxes and such this thing's had in its history. But yeah, so that's sort of what I've spent a bit of time on now. Yeah, so I've built basically a forward shift housing. That's a aftermarket shifter, turned around basically. This is all made out of steel, so it's fairly strong. Shift rail, unis. Unis got a little tack on them there. I haven't put the hardened pins in yet. I tacked it so I could drill it accurately, because there's not a lot of movement in these shafts to change gears, so I wanted it to be precise. And yeah, that's the T60 T6 6060 shifter, adapted to the T56 and utilising the unis and this and that. So yeah, it's been, it's got all the bearings, the shafts in it. It's got a T56 shifter piece inside. These are all aftermarket, just hardened steel shaft bearings. It's got a seal in there, so basically it'll have an oil bath in there, so it will actually carry a little bit of oil in the top, just to keep it all lubricated and dampen the vibrations if there's any. And the gear stick, I don't know if anyone recognises it, but it's actually a set of fat bars off a motocross bike, because when I was looking at it, it's not entirely unlike, it's close to what the factory shifter bend is, and I thought that'd be an interesting thing to do. So yeah, I've done that. But anyway, it seems to, nearly dropped the camera. It seems to work really well. So it does have a little bit of a, it's probably about a 10-inch throw at the top of the shaft. So yeah, it's quite interesting. And this little, that's a little decompressor lever off a really early Norton or Triumph, I think it is, I'm not sure. But what I'm doing with that is I'm going to run a cable down the shifter, and what I'll do is I'm going to make a manual reverse lockout. It was electric originally, but I'll take the solenoid off and convert it to a cable operation, so it'll have a reverse lockout via a cable. I know, just to make life harder, but anyway, so that's where it is at the moment. So and ultimately now it's sitting in position. I know I can work with tail shaft lengths and start working on cross members and bits and pieces, so that's pretty much where the thing's going to sit permanently. But anyway, I thought the forward shifter idea was pretty cool, and it seems to be working really well. I'll fix that trans tunnel cover up and all the rest of it. The rear of it I had to cut just to sort, but that'll bit of sheet metal work. But it is a rather large gearbox to fit in one of these things. But yeah, that, and I intend to run a bench seat with this thing too, so it'll be a bench seat, probably a genuine, 3 people can sit in this thing if necessary. And yeah, so that's where I'm at the moment. I was going to chop this video up in a couple of bits, but I'll just do it all in one hit, because I don't seem to get to the video camera much these days. Yeah, so that's where we're at the moment. Have been busy making stuff happen, but yeah, I'll keep moving on, and yeah, so rear end's still the same. It's I just put up, that's the Sonic's 1350 tri-yoke adapter, so I'll probably just run a one-piece shaft with a slip uni in the back of the 256. I'm not going to worry about the rubber joints and all the other stuff. They look like a problem to me. So So yeah, I'll go with the one-piece drive shaft in this thing, and yeah, so got my crazy forward mount shifter, and yeah, and also too actually, lastly, I picked this fantastic item off eBay, thanks to Mark from down in Sydney there. He sold me this awning, the awning visor, sun visor, and yeah, it's a little bit beaten up and stuff like that, but I think it works with the patina of the truck. So, and it gives it that certain look. But yeah, so anyway, that'll do for part 21, I suppose. There's some Race Tech 1 3/4 tubing. That's what I'm gonna be barring the engine bay out with, and there's every chance we'll end up with a roll cage in this thing too, I think. So just to make it probably a little bit safer, and make for some decent seat belt anchors and stuff like that. So you know, if I do run this thing as hard as I want to, some good seatbelt mounts are nice to have, and some full harnesses and bits and pieces to keep it all safe, and yeah, some nice strong bars just in case it falls on its head. So anyway, that'll do for part 21. Part 22 will probably have a completed engine plate and all that sort of stuff, and we'll see how we go. Probably steering column next. So that's all happening. Anyway, cheers.